All right, guys, this is the last video for the F-16, the 70 millimeter Freewing F-16 setup. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about timers and throttle cut. So let's get into timers really quick. So I actually already preset up 3 different timers, and these are all throttle-based timers. The first one is an absolute timer, the next one's a percent, and the next one is trigger. These are completely different. Right now they're all set for down, so they're going to count down from the 3-minute position. Okay, so if I go ahead and throttle up, okay, you'll notice that they're all counting down exactly the same, okay, or pretty close to exactly the same. Okay, now if I throttle down all the way, you'll notice that percent has stopped and absolute has stopped. Trigger is a trigger. It just, the first time it happens, it goes for the entire flight. Okay, so that is just a continuation. Not really useful for a throttle count down. Might be good for a count up, but not really good for a count down. Okay, so the next one that I have is percentage. So again, they work pretty much the same. They count down. But once I go to the half position, look what happens. Okay, the percent counter counts slower, counts half the speed. If I do a quarter throttle, it's a quarter of the speed. Okay, so if you can figure out, I've done it on a couple of planes and it actually works really nicely, especially a plane that you don't fly the same all the time. You're not always full throttle. Sometimes you do, nice slow passes, and then the next flight you're full throttle. It's a little bit more accurate because if you're using half the power, you're going to only count down half as much. So if you can figure out the time on that, I would do that by, at first you set up your absolute timer, and you do a count up timer to see how long your flight was. Do a couple of flights, try to get a good average, and then figure out a good time for the percentage. So if you wanted to use the percentage, it's actually really cool, and it gives you a little bit more, just a bit more accuracy than just a normal counter that goes on as soon as you hit the throttle. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and set this up. So this was just a demo. I'll go ahead and set this up as if we are going to fly a plane. Okay, so generally what I do is I have this one up top set as my countdown timer. And so whatever I set it to, so I'll do an absolute maybe 3 minutes. And this one over here I set as a count up. Okay, and then this one I just leave it alone. That's the 2 timers that I need. You can do more if you want. You can do 4 timers. You can do 5 timers, whatever you want to do. Okay, let's go ahead and set this up. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can get to this. So from this main screen, you can hit and hold down here. Okay, and then when you hit and hold down there it goes. I can go over here and do an edit. And it'll edit that timer called absolute, and it'll edit it. Okay, the other way you can do it is you can go into model, and you can go to timers. Okay, so let's look at the first timer over here. Okay, let's edit it, and I'm going to go ahead and change that name to something that I'm actually going to use. So I'm going to delete, actually enter, and delete that name, and this time I'll call it count. Okay, enter. And the mode is down, so it'll count down. Where's it going to start from? 3 minutes is good. Do you want sounds? Yeah, let's set up a sound. And let's do speech. Okay. And the countdown start. So when do you want it to start telling you, give you time warnings? A minute 30 for me is good for a 3-minute plane. And then it does a step of 30. So it'll announce a minute 30. Then it will be silent until 30 seconds. So then the next announce will be 1 minute. And then it'll go to 30, and then the last 10 seconds it'll do your count, an actual countdown. Okay, and I'll set it to throttle absolute. If you want, you can do this, and you can have a reset switch. So for this particular one, I do like to put a reset switch in it, so that way I can taxi, and then just before I take off, hit the reset switch, and now my counter is set. I like to use this button back here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. But take a look really quick, okay? That's the down. So that when you're holding it down, it's down. When you release it, it's up. Okay, you want it to reset, not when it's up, or it'll reset all the time. You want it to reset when it's down. So when it's down and the arrow is down, then actually there it is over there, and then you hit the return button. Let me do that again because I hit the menu item. Okay, you hit, hold down, hit that, get out of it. Now it's down. Okay. All right, so that is now set. And I think that's it. That's it for this timer. Okay, this one's good. Okay, next timer. Okay, let's go to this one over here. Instead of %, let us edit it and call it, and this one I'm going to call total. And this will be a count up timer. Okay. I'm going to reset the, don't need an alarm value, so let's just go ahead and, whoops, I got out of it by accident, hit the wrong button. I gotta hit this one. Okay, and sound mute. I don't want any sound on this one, I just want to know the time by looking at it. The active condition will not be a throttle, it'll be my throttle cut switch. So I want it to start counting when at the same time as my engine is active. So this is engine disabled. This is engine active. And I'll go ahead and have it there. So that is correct. SF down. Okay. And that is it. I don't put a reset on this one because it is full flight time. And if I do have to do a reset on it, I can just do it with the menu. I can show you that really quick too. Okay. So let's actually go into here and let's turn this one off. So let's edit it. Let's just delete it. Okay. So yes. Okay. So now let's get out of the menu. Let's take a look. Now I've got two counters, one called total and one called count down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, disable my throttle. Okay. And notice that total stopped moving. So when you activate your throttle, it starts. When you deactivate your throttle, it stops. Okay. If I need to reset it, I can come over here and I can hit it, hold it down, and then I can go to reset over here. Okay, it'll reset the counter. Now, if I was to activate the counter, let's activate the countdown one, and so let's say it's moving and stuff like that. I need to reset it. For this one, because I set it for that switch, I can just hit the reset button at the back of the thing. That is counters. You can do a lot with them. They work really well, and you can have as many as you want. Okay. We can get into later on, I'll do a video on this screen and how to customize it. And it's really simple, but essentially it's here and you can start customizing your screen if you want to play with it. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do throttle cut. Okay. I have a sound that says throttle cut, but it's doing nothing right now except for making the sound. So let's go into model, which is right up here. And I'm going to go into mixer and go to my throttle. Okay. Now, in throttle, there's something called throttle cut, obviously. Okay, active condition. So when do I want to activate throttle cut? Okay, that is on this switch down. So right now, throttle is disabled. Okay, let's go throttle. Let's just do this so that way we don't hear that counter. Okay, so active condition, when do I want throttle to not work is when that switch is down. That is set. Okay, now take a look down here. Okay, trigger value. This is really cool. And idle output value. This one, be warned. Okay, so let's look at trigger value first. Okay, what trigger value means is if it is above the minus 85% mark, which is somewhere around here. Okay, if it's above that, do not activate. So for example, if I'm down here, I activate my throttle, boom, my throttle is activated. I can now move it and you can see my throttle work. And that's the red line. The yellow line signifies where in the throttle is going. Okay, so if I was to throttle cut, okay, notice that red line is now at the bottom. In other words, no matter where I go in the throttle, it'll just stay at 0. Okay, now, if I happen to be above that 85% minus 85% threshold, it will not activate until I get down to there. Beautiful. Love that. I used to do that on OpenTX and EdgeTX, but I had to program logic switches and do a bunch of stuff. This one just has it as an option, which is freaking awesome. Okay, idle output value. Don't F with this. This is essentially what happens when I hit throttle cut. Okay, so if I was to mess with this, notice how that line went up. Essentially, anytime I hit that button, it'll go to half throttle if I have it set to there. And if I have it set up there, it's going to go to full throttle. So just be careful of that one. You know, for anything that we're going to use it for, we want -100 for airplanes. Okay, so that is that. That's basically it. Very, very simple. Okay, throttle hold we don't care about for what we're doing in airplanes. And that's it. Okay, I think I covered it. I think the next thing I'm going to do is fly my plane. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.